I want to paint you a picture. Say it's an ordinary Tuesday and nothing special is happening. You're not on vacation or having a breakthrough moment. It's just a regular day. And somewhere in the middle of it, maybe you're making coffee or sitting in a meeting, but you notice something. You feel like yourself. Not the performed version or the hustling version or the one that's holding everything together for everyone else. There are no versions here, just you, present, grounded, quietly, unremarkably at home in your own life. That feeling of just being okay in your own skin, in your own life, on your own terms, being true to who you are. That's the reclaimed life. And that's what today's episode is all about. You're listening to the Midlife Plot Twist podcast, and this is episode 28. Happy Monday, everyone. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Midlife Plot Twist podcast. My name is Jennifer. You can call me Jen. And I am really excited and thrilled and overjoyed to announce that I am the new proud grandma of a beautiful little girl who was born on April 13th. And mama and baby are doing so well. And I'm adjusting to this new role of grandma, this new station in life. And because I am in my 40s and a young grandma, grandma, and all the different words we have in English for it they just don't resonate with me or sit with me. And so I've decided that I'm going to teach my little granddaughter to refer to me as grandma, but in Japanese. So she will be calling me Oba-chan or Baba. Baba. Oh my God. So yes, that's what I'm going to teach her. And that feels much better and like me. I don't think I've mentioned in an episode before, but I am on my dad's side of the family Japanese. And on my mom's side of the family, everyone hails from the UK somewhere. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. Anyway, yeah, I am just in love with this little girl, and I can't wait to uncover and discover all the wonderful things about this girl growing up and me growing into the role and station of being grandma. Yeah, I just feel so blessed and honored to know her. And so proud of my daughter. She was in labor for over 55 hours, if you can believe that. I mean, we did not sleep for days while she was in labor. So, yes. Anyways, so that is my little personal update for now. But here we are, episode 5, the last episode in this 5-part series on midlife reclamation. And before we go anywhere today, I just want to take a moment to honor how far this series has traveled. So in episode 1, we named this like wake-up call moment. And it could be quiet moment or a thunderous moment where something in us says, I can't keep doing this. We reframed it in that episode from being a crisis to being a signal of something good to come. And then in episode 2, We went back. We looked to our past. We excavated the parts of the woman or the woman we were before our 30s and or even in our early 30s, and asked, you know, who was she? We looked at what we traded for, these parts of ourselves. It could have been our creativity, our voice, our spirituality, or our playfulness. And we said, those parts aren't gone. They've just been waiting. They're always a part of who we are. And so it's up to us to excavate them. In episode 3, we sat, I was going to say through, but we sat with something a bit more difficult. We looked at the identities that we chose, the ones that we built deliberately and worked for and were proud of. And we asked the uncomfortable question, like, which one of these identities or parts of our identity have we outgrown? We talked about the grief that happens with that, or that can happen with that, and how it's very disorienting. There's like a kind of emptiness that comes with putting down a part of us that used to define us. And I gave the example of being a professor. That identity is shifting for me. And in episode 4, then we turned around and we looked forward to our future. We talked about values as a compass rather than goals as a destination. We asked, what does an authentic life actually look like? Not a branded, optimized, leveled up life, but a real one built around who you genuinely are today. And now we're here, episode 5, the last one in the series, the one I've been looking forward to and sitting with the most, because this episode isn't about the work anymore. It's about what happens when you actually start to live it. So first, I'll tell you a bit about my experience with the reclaimed life and my midlife reclamation process. I'm not yet standing on the other side of this with a bow on it. I'm in it, and I think I will be in it for much of my life, to one degree or another, for the rest of my life. The reclaimed life is not a destination that you reach where everything clicks into place and stays there. Some weeks we will slip back into old patterns so seamlessly that we won't even notice until we're already knee or neck deep in them. Sometimes survival mode will make a comeback. This is all just life. Next, I'll share different things I've done in this midlife reclamation process just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I'll start by saying that I feel more like myself than I have in 20 years, or like ever. Because I started asking myself questions like, what do I value? What do I need? What do I want? I started listening to myself instead of constantly overriding and silencing myself. I started deliberately choosing the woman I am and am in the present time of any given moment. This has looked like remembering how much I love to be in the water and choosing to take myself to the beach in the summer in response to that love. This involved me learning to give myself the gift of experiencing being in that water, despite the fear and shame that I felt about my body. It meant that I wanted to love and honor myself more than I wanted to hide and protect myself from shame or out of shame. I'll be honest, it took me years to reclaim this one. Choosing myself has also looked like acknowledging that since I was about 6 years old, I've wanted to be a writer. And I know I was 6 because my dad gave me my first diary when I was 6 years old. And I have dreamed of being a writer ever since. So this involved me actually writing things and putting my writing out there in the world, entering competitions, being mentored, and working on a manuscript. And just by these two examples, I'm drawn to the fact that, or drawn to the fact or paying attention to the fact that a reclaimed life is one where action has been taken in the service of fulfilling our dreams and desires and is being in harmony with our values. Currently, choosing myself means that I am actively listening to the part of myself that wants to resign from my position at the university for the sake of my health and well-being. It's scary to admit this, and if this were, it's only been in recent past that I've been able to admit this to myself. So I'm working at listening to this and am lining things up to act on it based on the information that I'm gathering at the moment. I want to spend a bit of time acknowledging how challenging it can be to stay in your reclaimed life when everything and everyone around you is still pulling you back to the old one. What is known to us and about us is comfortable. What is unknown is not. And here's what this can look like. You've done some reclamation work and get clearer on who you are and what you want. You start to make different choices in life. You start to feel more like yourself than you have in years. But then life happens. A crisis comes up, or someone needs you whom you've always just helped without question. Old dynamics reassert themselves in your relationships, and without noticing it happening, you find yourself back in the old patterns. Maybe that's overfunctioning, overriding yourself, shrinking, performing, or people-pleasing, and you think to yourself, did any of that work even make a difference? I'm here to say that it absolutely does make a difference. And remember, it's a practice for life. And here's how you can try to stay rooted in yourself and all that important internal work that you've done, as well as the actions that you've taken. So first, you build anchors. Small, daily, non-negotiable practices that keep you tethered to yourself. Not a 5-minute morning routine that you found on Instagram, although I guess it could involve that, but it has to be something real and specific to just you. Maybe it's 10 minutes alone before the house wakes up. Maybe it's a walk without your phone. Maybe it's journaling or the creative practice that you reclaimed in episode 2. Regardless of what it is, it has to be yours, and it has to be consistent and regular, and it should be something that brings you back to your own roots, your center, and your values when the world has pulled you away from them. And the second thing is that you start to notice the drift away from your center or from your roots earlier and earlier. So reclamation isn't a one-time achievement, as I mentioned. It's an ongoing practice of noticing when you've drifted and when you choose to come back to your roots. The goal isn't to never drift. The goal is to shorten the distance between the drifting and the returning to your center. Over time, that distance gets smaller. You'll start to notice the drifting faster. You drift, you catch it, you come back to center, you come back to your roots. That's the rhythm of the reclaimed life, over and over. A third way of staying or anchored, sticking with yourself, is to stay in conversation with yourself. And wow, this one is so important. I think my head and my internal world used to be very much a whole lot of assumption. But the excavation work, the values work, the release work that we've done in the previous episodes doesn't end after the series. It becomes a way of being. It becomes a way of being in relationship with yourself, where you check in with yourself regularly and ask important and sometimes difficult questions of yourself. It takes being honest about what fits and what doesn't in your life. And it involves being genuinely curious about who you are becoming, rather than locked up in who you decided you were or used to be. I think that's it for today. So here's what I want to leave you with as we choose this midlife reclamation, close this midlife reclamation series. The reclaimed life isn't waiting for you on the other side of like a perfect plan or a dramatic redefinition or transformation or something. It's available to you right now in the context of the work you do, the dreams you have, and the degree to which you are willing to listen to yourself honestly. It's in the next honest choice you make and the intentional actions that you take in response. In the next moment, choose yourself without apology. When it comes to change, you might be I'm going to go back on that point. Choosing yourself without apology. I know many people might have pushback in their mind saying like, well, how can I choose myself if it's between me and my kids, for example? And this isn't about, becoming this self-absorbed, selfish, self-centered person to the detriment of your relationships with others who are dependent on you or other. It is about choosing yourself without apology in the moments that count. Like always kind of putting yourself first so that it's that analogy about the airplane and the masks coming down and you have to put the mask on yourself before you can help anyone else. Like that sort of thing is cliche and it's there because it's true. Yeah. So when it comes to change, you might be used to shutting your curiosity or self-examination down by thinking, oh, you're too late or you're too old or you're too far gone or you're too set in your ways or too entangled in a life that can't change. And all of these things make it so that you can't change, but it's not true. I'll share that I live my life by living in the analogy of flowing with like water in a stream or a river. There are all kinds of rocks and stumps and branches and things like that can block the water flow. But the water doesn't care. It just flows around or over the obstacle. It doesn't keep running up against it over and over and over and over and over in the hopes that the obstacle will move. It doesn't fight with the obstacle to say like, I think you should move. I need to go through or whatever. It just flows around it or over it. The water moves, not the obstacle. Be like the water. Okay. I think that's it for this episode in this series. Thank you for being here for all 5 episodes. This series has meant more to me to make than I can really say. Midlife reclamation is something that I am becoming more and more passionate about because I truly think that at least at the beginning of midlife, it's perfect time for us to look back and see what it is we left behind that wants to be picked up again and explored in this later half of our life. So with that, please follow me on Instagram. Midlife Plot Twist podcast is the handle. Same with on Threads, Midlife Plot Twist podcast. There's lots of interaction going on over there. You can also email me anytime at midlifeplottwistpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, until next week, be well.